Gilbo. I'm from Montgomery, Alabama. I always was an effeminate child, and I think, I guess I knew that on some level. One day I was 8 years old. It was bright and sunny and hot, always, and humid, oppressively humid in Alabama. And I ran inside. There was always this kind of father figure that was around the house, and I looked up to him, I guess. And anyway, I ran in, and I think I complained about something that was so hot, and it was, just hot. And I remember him completely mocking the way that I did it. And he made it kind of in an exaggeratedly feminine way, mocked what I did. I knew that it was unsafe for me to be fully me. At that moment, I knew that I needed to be different than who I was. Years later, I moved to New York. I was in New York and I fell in love with a man. I kind of figured out pretty quickly that this was not a good relationship for me to be in. We had different lifestyles. He loved going out to the bars and having fun with his friends, and I was not a bar person per se. And so for me, there was a major disconnect, and then there was lots more disconnects as I kind of noticed more and more that, this man, as great as he is, couldn't provide me with anything that I wanted from a relationship, maybe true intimacy, or at least how I defined it. And more and more I started to feel like I was in a relationship with sort of this dominating father figure all over again, and it felt like hell. There was a breakup. It was pretty, I'd say, dramatic for me. I was on Fire Island. I remember we slept in separate beds that night, and I went out to him. He was sleeping in the living room, and I went out to him and I said, I think when we get back to New York, we shouldn't call each other. And he said, okay. I remember getting to the docks, the boardwalk, I guess, leaving Fire Island, and I had this bracelet that he gave me, and I, took it off and I threw it into the brush, into the sand. I was on this boardwalk sort of, and off in the sand again, I see this baby deer that was kind of pressed against a wire fence. It was really petrified of me. As I was walking sort of parallel to it. And then it just kept thrusting itself against this wire fence, just petrified. And that struggle, I was like, that's me. That's me. Trying the same thing over and over again, and just this insanity. I knew there was something going on, and I did try therapy, and I went to therapy for a while, and 10 years go by, and I ended up dating a man that was the exact prototype of the other man, who was also the exact prototype of, this father figure that was so imposing in my life, and kind of planted that seed. And there was lots of neglect, and there was lots of pain, and so that relationship also ended. Then I ended up going to a therapist here in New York that is a straight guy. He's genius. Has this beautiful office on the 17th floor overlooking Manhattan, and tons of light pour in. This man has the most bright, vivid blue eyes. He really was all about me owning my sexuality, which was something I didn't think was even an issue. I thought I was fine with that. And he was like, your homophobia is the reason you keep getting into these horrible relationships, into these relationships that have no future, that are painful. That floored me. What? It comes back to homophobia? It came back to homophobia. And I didn't agree with him. I said, I didn't choose this. I didn't choose this pain. And then he's like, go home and write all these reasons why you want to be in self-pity, why you wanted to choose this pain. And I did. I wrote that list, and it was long. And it was because, what does it serve? It serves me hating myself. It serves homophobia. All of that came from this message of hate when I was a child. It became really clear to me after the second relationship, it's either I'm going to live or I'm going to die. This seed of hate is so deep. I had to make a choice. And thankfully, I chose life. Thank God. I'm so glad, you know. And it's about, since then, it's been about building positive relationships that come from a place of fulfillment. And if it's not fulfilling, then bye, you know, like, boy, bye. There's a quote from this artist named Jungle Pussy, and she says it's a full-time job fucking loving yourself. And I almost want to get that tattooed on me, because that's my full-time job, is fucking loving myself. And it's the dividends it pays are amazing. My sexuality is not something to run from, it's something to celebrate. I'd plant that seed. That took a long time to get there. Those words didn't hit me until later, you know. My sexuality is something to be celebrated.